Welcome everyone to Club Conversations at Parramatta Pioneers Toastmasters. My name is Marc. I'm the club president at Parramatta Pioneers, and I'm joined here today with our VP PR of the club, Mukunda. So please welcome Mukunda. Welcome, Mukunda.
Hi, Marc. Thank you for organizing this session, and I'm really looking forward to having some really in-depth conversation about some of the topics we really love to talk about. Thank you again.
No, I think it'll be great. And today our topic is about how 2020 changed our lives forever.
Yeah, totally. There's a few interesting questions we're going to go through. And 2020 was really an interesting year for one particular reason, but many other subsequent reasons caused by that one pandemic. So one of the biggest questions I had in my mind in terms of how people have generally gone through this, 2020. So I went through it differently, and I'm pretty sure, Marc, you had a different experience going through it. So I'm really keen to understand what helped you get through 2020.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Everyone went through a lot there in their own different ways. I think for me, the most exciting thing maybe about the whole pandemic and being locked down was just about the amount of experimentation that I could do with my own routine. Just my life routine was changed, my work routine was changed, and there were so many points where I could kind of just do my own thing or just figure out what might work better for me rather than the usual 9 to 5, and how those things can actually add a lot more value to your life. So with my life, it was kind of just about experimenting with exercise, maybe exercising straight in the morning, maybe in the afternoon because I was working from home, or sometime at night. And even then, it's kind of just working on how much sleep do I actually need. I went from maybe having a little bit too little amount of sleep to increasing that, and avoiding all of the travel and all of the commute that I used to do. Gave me a few more hours to sleep at night as well. So different things there. And for my work routine, I think it was just how do I set myself up at home to work, and find some sort of routine in it. For me, I was relying on the Pomodoro technique. So you set a timer on for 25 minutes and then you have 5 minutes break. So that kind of helped organize for me, at least, just having the focused time to work, and then having that forced kind of relaxed time or break time for 5 minutes, just to split everything up and make sure that I have a bit of balance in my time. So yeah, definitely a lot more awareness, a lot more experimenting for me in my own routines. But how about you, Mukunda? What helped you through 2020?
Yeah, a lot of the things you talked about, I think some of them are really generic sort of things, and some of them are a little bit more specific in terms of your own experience. For me, the generic stuff are the same. The thing is just being aware of what's happening around me, just understanding my situation at that point in time, and then reflect on what I've done to the date, and then how I can plan the future. So if I want to structure it a bit more in terms of what really helped me get through, so first thing is it relates to this thing as well. It's meaningful conversations. So previously, I think before 2020, I thought like I was involved in too many conversations with too many people on too many different topics, right? And it was not going anywhere. So what happened in 2020 was I was having focused conversation on some specific topic with the person who would be interested in that particular topic as well. So it did not just become just a social chat or anything. It was like really meaningful conversation. Both of us, we could take that away and reflect. Other thing that really got me through was looking after myself, self-care. That comes in the form of like physical fitness. I did a lot of running in 2020. And on the side, I play sports like soccer, and I've recently started tennis as well. So just looking after yourself from the physical health, that's important. On the side, again, your mental health, your emotional health, And then the environmental factors, managing, everything around you, like finance, that's very important in terms of just understanding where you're at, right? If you need help, or if you need some support from someone, or just having that, financial plan in terms of how long I can survive on my current savings, or where do I call for support? And if plan A doesn't work, what is the plan B? Just having that sense of the finance and every other environmental factors, right? So just coming back to it, so mainly your self-care, your environmental factors that plays the part in your well-being. Yeah, and again, coming back to it, the meaningful conversations that really helped me.
I think a lot of people had some meaningful conversations with or without alcohol through the pandemic, but
yeah,
that definitely got me through some of those times. So thanks for sharing that. So we talked about what helped us through 2020, but now what did we actually learn from 2020 as a whole?
Yeah, I think there are two at levels, right? One is the surface level in terms of there could be like technical skills I might have learned. There are sort of like social skills and things like that. But I would really want to go a level deeper than that. That's mainly in terms of our own emotional and psychological well-being, right? I would say there are three things mainly. First thing is it's okay not to be okay. That's the main thing I've learned. Because I did not have job for 187 days in 2020. So that's almost half of the whole year. And so many times I was not okay, for sure, because not having a job, just sitting at home, thinking a lot. But then one thing I realized is it's okay not to be okay. And that sort of takes me to my second point is do not force happiness. I've seen a lot of shallow positive talks, a lot of the things that goes on the social media and things like that. And I really don't buy it because they are at a very surface level. So, someone can just go on the social media and post, wake up in the morning and decide that you're going to be happy that day. But what that's going to do, it's just going to be forcing yourself to go against what you are actually feeling. So for me, do not force happiness. Feel whatever you feel. Embrace whatever you feel. Just be real, right? And that actually brings me to my third point, which is be vulnerable. So if you're not forcing happiness on yourself, if you're feeling sad or if you're feeling frustrated, then you just need to find a circle of people or just one person or whoever you can trust to share that, right? To express that. And where you can be totally vulnerable, you can express that you're scared. You can express the fact that you're frustrated. You don't have to pretend to be happy all the time. So there are a lot of technical skills I've learned in terms of my job expectations. I've learned new techniques of running and things like that. But those are more at the surface level. But the things that has actually stuck, and I think that will stick for a long time, which is a bit deeper, are just be real, just be vulnerable, just understand that it's okay not to be okay. These are the things that really relates to me, and I'm pretty sure it can relate to a lot of people, not if not fully, then at least partially. So Marc, I'm pretty sure the kind of person you are, since I've known you, I think these points would be something you can relate to as well. But I'm keen to understand, are these some of the things you've learned as well?
Yeah, I think being vulnerable, man, that's such a powerful one to think about when everything's kind of exposed this time. People are at home, people are within their own place the whole time. Some things kind of come to the surface, and yeah, it's time for everyone to reflect. I think that's how some of the people in our club kind of put it as well. It's time for everyone to slow down, to revive and survive type thing as well. And I think that leads into maybe just being more patient, for me at least, just learning how to slow down. Even at the grocery stores when we're waiting for toilet paper, we're gonna slow down and be patient. Everything will be okay. But
Yeah.
really loved your list there.
And I'm not fully aware of your personal situation in 2020 in terms of the professional or the job. So I Did you have any problem with your job, like keeping the job? Was there any problem with that in 2020?
I think I was one of the lucky ones that, wasn't affected too much. We just all transferred to working from home. So it was a bit different for us to just collaborate and us to find the routine in our work schedules. But yeah, it wasn't impossible. So I'm really lucky to have my job and all that and all the people that made it possible. Yeah.
But there was a big shift, right? Even in terms of, from a lot of people working in the office to working from home. So I'm pretty sure you were in that crowd as well, just people shifting to work from home. So how did you find it?
Yeah, I think the biggest change was just the environmental space that I had. So I was at that point kind of moved out and moved into a different place now. But just having that space to kind of design myself, I was using my room as my workspace for my normal day to day, but then also using it as my bedroom to sleep in, and then also my gym. So it was kind of a Swiss Army room in a lot of ways. And I think for me, it was just trying to find the times or the small spaces of the room that I could section out to have those different activities. So work was in one corner, sleeping and the bedroom was technically in one corner, and then the gym was kind of planted in the middle of all of it. But just trying to mentally make those barriers and separate those spaces, because when they start to blur, you kind of get yourself up into where am I now, and the headspace kind of gets affected and affects all those different parts from sleep to work and exercise. So yeah, it was a mental juggling game there.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. At least last couple of months or 4 months actually since I've been back to work. I can totally relate to that. A lot of the time I'm working from home, and the room I'm in at the moment, it's a spare bedroom, and there's a bed here, but this is sort of my working space. And if my wife doesn't find the storage option, so she uses this as the backup option as well. So I need to be really on top of like organizing this place. But I can totally relate to it. Yes, there's been big shift, and to be honest, like I'm not complaining about it.
It's definitely makes it more flexible and interesting to figure out the new work-life balance and what that looks for people. But for you yourself, you actually had to find a job in 2020, so it's such a big task. How did it all go? And what are some tips maybe even to find a job in 2020 and even the pandemic and how we're going ahead?
Yeah. It's actually funny because now I'm on the other side. I can just sound all positive about it and give like nice tips to people because I'm already settled into a job. But if someone asked me while I was actually looking for a job, maybe my response would have been different. Having said that, I'll try to balance my response so that I don't sound too optimistic or too pessimistic, somewhere in the middle. So yeah, the main thing is it can be a numbers game at times, depending on which industry you are in. If there's a lot of movement in the industry you work in, it's a numbers game, right? There's going to be a lot of opportunity coming in. You'll have to be on top of things, either by applying through Seek or Indeed, and then applying through LinkedIn, or just going through some company's website and seeing if they have any vacancies. You just need to be on top of everything. And whatever relates to your field of expertise, you just need to make sure that if it matches to a certain level, you just need to give it a go. And while I did that, I had two approaches. So first thing is, if the job is very specific, the one I really want to do, and if I get the job, I'm going to stick there for a long time. So if those sort of opportunities came in, I made sure I took a lot of time of my day just applying for that job, researching the company and things like that. But then there were others, where I was just called by headhunters, or I would just be talking to a recruitment consultant. They would ask me to send my details in the next half an hour, right? So in that case, it was just putting together something very quickly and sending it through and trying my luck. So I had a couple of approaches there in terms of applying for job. But then the next thing, and actually more important thing for me, it is probably the industry I'm in as well. The networks, your network, like professional network, it really helps. So for me, I am in the project delivery space in the technical sort of field, and the people I've worked with in the past, like program managers, program directors, and project managers, business analysts, and those sort of like my network. Now they are at a lot of different places, right? And they are in the ground, and they would have a first-hand knowledge of any opportunities available. And even for them, it's easy if they see a fit and if they know there's a vacancy. It makes that process much more easier. So what I did was I made sure I reached out to all of my contacts. So I had like a WhatsApp group with my old colleagues. I reached out there. I reached out to my LinkedIn network. Some of the people I knew well, some of the people I hardly knew. I reached out to all of them. So many times I felt a bit awkward reaching out to people. It was not as easy as I'm saying now, because I was typing so many times, drafting my message and saying, maybe no, it's just, it's just being very desperate. And then I look back saying, actually, I am desperate. So, why the hesitation? Like, I am desperate. So why am I hesitating to sound desperate? And then, a lot of the people responded. A lot of the people didn't. And a lot of the people responded with good leads as well. So it was really about the networks for me. And the last thing, which a lot of people may disagree with me, I'm just going to put out there in terms of take a break, even if you're looking for work. It's, for example, if you're looking for work and, if you live with your parents or if you live with your partner, and let's say if you're taking a break, right, one day and they're saying, oh, you're looking for a job, what are you doing? Like, you're just relaxing, chilling out or going out for a run and things. People may say that, right? But you have to give yourself some credit, and you have to give yourself some, the time to just reconnect, just, reflect, and just find that balance with yourself, right? I know it's, a lot of people may think that, finding a job is not really a work, so you don't need a break, but it is very taxing to your brain, to your emotional well-being. So you have to force yourself, saying, next couple of days, I am just going to, if there's anything comes through, like, I'm just going to respond, right? But I'm not going to actively go and look for a job. I'm not going to actively make a call or anything. Next 2 days, I'm giving myself a break. I did that a few times. I felt guilty at times, saying, what am I doing? Like, I don't deserve a break. But looking back, that's probably one of the things that helped me get through it as well. So, again, everyone's journey is very specific. People are in a different field. People have different sort of expertise. Some may have, the skills they may be able to sell pretty quickly. Some maybe a bit like soft skills, which may take some time. So depending on where you're at, your approach may be different. But the bottom line is, you just need to keep trying, reach out to people, don't hesitate, and give yourself a break whenever you need.
Great words, and love all those points. I love how playing the numbers game, or just playing the game in general, knowing the right people, got you to where you needed to be, and just overall, just knowing in the back of your mind that you have to take a break. You're taking on all this emotional kind of baggage when you're maybe get rejections or having to put yourself out there and trying to sell yourself. All of that energy takes a lot out of you. So yeah, when you mentioned it's taxing, I can imagine that is very true, day in, day out. So worth the break, even if you don't feel like you're doing enough there.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
probably there's one thing I can add, as you talked about the rejection, right? And you need to really understand that it's not you. Or at least understand if it's you or if it's not you. Like, if there's some specific comment from people saying this is the specific skill set you need to work on, do some certification or, just do some course and come back. That's a feedback you can take on board. But if someone comes back saying your application has been rejected, you can't take that on yourself, because if you apply for, like, in my case, I might have applied for more than 1,000 jobs, and maybe I got 50 response, and I had probably 5 or 6 interviews. So it's very low percentage of response, right? And if you think about 995 times I hardly got any response, then if I take that on board and said, oh, I'm really bad and I don't deserve to be doing any sort of job, then it's not helpful.
That's so true. Yeah. If you take it too personally, it'll just show in the next one and the next one. And, you might not be where you are today. So good advice again. So we'll keep moving on. And I think we've got next question is on you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, uh, so one of the things I mentioned regarding the job is, how I had that sort of professional community, right, to help me with, in terms of like job leads and things like that. And even, when we talked about how we can have the meaningful conversations, right? So I think that there's a sense of, community on everything, like either you talk about your, physical exercise or sports or anything. So for you, in 2020, did you feel the importance of community a bit more or less, or how did the sense of community work, for you in general in 2020?
Great question. And I think it all started with maybe family. So family and having the people around me. I was, as I mentioned, working from home, and the day to day was just empty because my roommates at the time, they were off to work and at their own place and their own business, and then it was just me with my own thoughts. So it was a lot to kind of just take in, just be by myself with that silence, and I was kind of craving at times, even the meetings with work people, or even just our club meetings that we have regularly. So it was really giving that routine or having some routine around those activities, whether it be at in my social life. We have, I guess, going back to us having a club, we meet fortnightly and we come together and, we're all online, which is really great. And we share, different interests and thoughts. And that was a really good time for me to just feel like I was still a part of something, instead of being just alone in this space. And then, later in the year, I ended up moving back with my family and just being around people all the time, or just having my dad and my mum around, just really made me feel more connected to people again. Nothing kind of replaces a home cooked meal by your mum. I think that's the greatest thing that I would always come back to. So yeah, it's interesting because not everyone kind of has those support networks or reaches out to different communities to find that social interaction. But we all know that we're kind of social beings. We know we should be making that a part of our lives, and hope everyone else has kind of found their own way to be social in this time.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things I can relate to as well. Obviously, like my parents are overseas, so one of the bad things about the pandemic has been that I haven't been able to visit them in person, which I was planning to in this last year, or even at the start of this year. But the good thing is I feel more connected like virtually than I was ever before. I don't know what's stopping us. Like, I've got 3 sisters and my parents, and now every couple of days, or at least twice or 3 times a week, we are on a video chat. The technology was always there, even before the pandemic, but for some reason it was we never thought of that in that way. So one thing that has like made the virtual sort of interaction a bit more possible is actually the aftermaths of pandemic as well. So that's the sense of community, more from like sense of the family that I have. Other thing is I've been spending more time with my wife as well, because I was at home for most of the time last year, and even after I started working, it was mostly working from home. So I have been able to, we have been able to wake up, make breakfast for both of us, eat together. Then I've been able to drop her off at work, pick her up, and go for dinner in the evening. So we have been able to spend more time together. Just outside of the family, I have three very close friends from my high school. Uh, I think we've been friends for like 18 years now. For some reason, before the pandemic, I think we were a bit, being like drifted apart a bit for some reason. Uh, it was not intentional, but a couple of, three of them, they live in the US in different states. I live here, and we always thought it was not practically possible to interact so often. But now we are talking almost, every day. And especially when I had so much downtime, I was able to always sort of reach out to them, have a video chat, talk about our high school days, which actually is a long time ago, and have some fun still while we are going through toughest times, right? So that was another sense of community. And even wider one is when I was struggling with not finding a job and things like that. One thing that kept me going was running. But if I just went out just running by myself, I would still be thinking about job and everything else. So it was helpful, but not as helpful as I would have liked it to be. But then when I've got a running community in the area I live in, there's a park run which happens every Friday. That was closed for a while, but we still have that group that people just meet and run together. So I was always a part of it, and I would just go out and run with other people. So then, when you run with other people, you talk about different things, right? Not just you're trying to find a job or being stuck at home and things like that. It just becomes much broader. And the other thing you mentioned is the Toastmasters Club as well. We meet fortnightly, and I like, a lot of the topics we talk about there, not only during the meeting, but after the meeting as well. So yeah, this from the conversations point of view, from physical health point of view, from reconnecting to the friends and families, the sense of community has been much stronger for me in 2020, and I think I would like to keep it this way.
That's great. Yeah, I think it's the importance of the community, but importance of each and every one of our relationships as well. So yeah, well put there.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that comes from the community is, for example, sometimes you are just on the TV and you are trying to find something to watch, or if you're on a phone, you are trying to something to listen to, right? And you might have some trusted advisor who will probably recommend you something to watch, or recommend you something to read, or something to listen to. So that happened quite a lot with me. So, but I'm really interested, Marc, in terms of with this sense of community, like, did you pick something new, or did someone within this community or any of those community recommended you something in 2020 that you think it will stick for a while?
Ooh, this is a good question. It has to make me think. One of the things that I went back to is a movement. It's not really a movement, but two guys. They're called the Minimalists. They have two documentaries or two films on Netflix at the moment. One is called Less Is Now, and the other is called Minimalism, I believe. But it's about just living intentionally and making sure that the problems in your life match up with the important problems, or just having the right things in your life. So a big part of it is just about downsizing your stuff, because it kind of gets in the way of what's important. But another thing is just knowing what's enough, and being more intentional with your life. So really found a bit of value in them. Check out some of their Netflix stuff around. But I think it's a really good find that I've reconnected with their messages and all their content that they have out. So that's the one thing that I would say I'd recommend to people, and the thing that I've kind of re-recommended to myself in that time. How about yourself? What do you found recommending to others, or recommending?
Yeah, for me, it's been both, like, upstream and downstream. So I've been recommended a lot of things, especially, when people know that you are just sitting at home, there's a like really natural sort of tendency of people to recommend you something, right? But you have to be really careful. But yes, the good thing was in 2020, because I had some downtime. If there were some good recommendations came in, I was actually I had time to just jump in, right, and listen to it or watch it. So many times what happened before that was people would recommend me something nice and it would just be sitting in my messages or somewhere, and I would think, oh, I would watch it or I would listen to it, and then 6 months, 1 year go by and you really never do it. Couple of things. I think the main thing was the podcast in general. So I cannot really recall, listening to a lot of podcasts before 2020. I think I would, I have some podcasts that I subscribe to, but I would hardly listen to them because I always thought, podcasts, you don't have the video, you don't have anything, you just listen to people speaking, what's fun in there. So I really did not do my research in terms of what podcasts can really do. So even within the podcast, I am very interested in the topics of social science, like psychological topics, behavioral science, and those sort of things. And in that space, the first series of podcasts I really listened to in 2020 was Hidden Brains. And I think some of the episodes are really good, and I think I have recommended that to a lot of people. Which sometimes you listen to it and you feel like, oh man, I need to tell this. Like people need to listen to this, right? And I, probably Mark, I might have sent that to link to you as well. I've done that to a few people. And the other one, towards the second half of 2020, I found my favorite podcast. That is No Stupid Questions. So it's basically Angela Duckworth and Steve Dubner. They, as the topic says, no stupid questions. So they talk about a lot of things which can be a common question in our like day-to-day lives, but they put a really sort of research and like psychological like spin to it, and the the people they are and the knowledge they have and the research they do, it really reflects on how they prepare the podcast. And the good thing is they're very short and sweet as well. So I think when this is something you really want to recommend to people, because one thing is it's really good. Second thing is it's short. So if people don't like it, then you haven't wasted a lot of their time. So you can say it's 30 minutes, right? So it's better to waste someone's 30 minutes than to waste someone's like recommending a bad Netflix series and in their whole week, right? So I don't feel bad even if people don't like it, because it's pretty short. And Mark, as I said, I've recommended a few episodes to you, and I'm pretty sure you're listening to it now. How are you finding it?
Yeah, I think No Stupid Questions definitely so close to the top of my list. Maybe it is even at the top of my list actually at the moment. So I can second everything that kind of Mukunda is recommending here. Seems to be of good value. One of the other ones that you
Happiness Lab.
It's Happiness Lab. Happiness Lab is really good as well. So yeah, jump onto some of those. Those are some really good ones, and I'm recommending it to some people actually at the moment as well. It's pretty funny. Yeah, it's good value, and definitely worth your time, even if it is just 30 minutes. Check it out.
So we've highlighted some of the questions we had and the experience in 2020, and I hope a lot of people can relate to, if not everything, at least some of the things we've talked about. For me, 2020 was a big shift in terms of where I was thinking, where I was used to living my life. And there's been a lot of changes. And there's been some good changes and not so good changes. But I'm hoping that I can at least stick to some of the good changes and they stick forever. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, great points, Mukunda. And for me as well, we went through all this change. We had some good changes, we had some bad changes, and hopefully just those great ones stick around with us forever. So hopefully all of you out there enjoyed the conversations that we've had today. We'll do this again sometime with some different people from the club, and look out for maybe some more questions from you yourself as well. Thanks again.
Thank you.